Okay, Peace Sells by Megadeth. Let's learn this classic track. A lot going on in this one, so it's going to keep you busy for a while. Let's talk about the tuning first off. I'm in standard tuning, so to play along to this lesson, just stay in standard. But if you wanted to play along to the recording, then you'll want to tune flat. It's about a quarter step flat, so halfway between standard and half a step down, or 50 cents if that's how your tuner reads. So if you wanted to play along to the recording, tune a little flat, but just if you want to learn along with this lesson, stay in standard. Now, the first thing that you hear when the track opens up is a bass line. And because it's such an integral part of the song, let's cover that. And you may as well learn it now and kind of piece the song together as we go, because the riff does come back in and is played by the guitar later on in the track. So that bass line goes like this. Okay, so it's a 2-measure riff that repeats 4 times at the head of the track. And what we do is we're starting on 7, 5, 7 on the A string, up to 5 on the D string, and then we hit a low E. Okay, so we've got this. And then we do 7, 5 on that A string again, and then a quick 7, 8 on the D string. So we've got this put in all together nice and slow. And then we repeat that first little bit of the measure for measure 2. Okay, so we've got 7, 5, 7 on the A string, up to 5 on D, open E, and then 7 on the A string. And then we just do a 5, 6 on the low string. So those 2 measures, nice and slow. Okay, and that's all that bass line is. Like I said, it plays 4 times at the head of the track. And if you want to get super technical, I know this isn't a bass lesson, but let's get it right. The 4th time that it plays, you just reverse those last 2 notes. So the 4th rotation would actually go 6, 5 for the last 2 notes instead of 5, 6. The last rotation would look like this. And then we're getting into our verse. Okay, so that's the bass line. And like I said, you may as well learn that now so that you're prepared for what's going to come next in the song. And then our rhythm guitar. Well, let's cover that before the little lead lick that comes in. So the rhythm guitar starts in measure 4, and we do a little chromatic 5, 6, 7 on the A string. Okay, so we go 5, 6, 7, slide down, and hit an E power chord. Okay, now the next thing is a D power chord, so 5th fret of the A string. Okay, and we let that ring for a measure. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, and 2, and 3, and 4, and 1, and 2, and 3, and 4, and... Okay, so we just let it ring. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1. Come in on that end of 1 and just tug 8th notes till that very last beat. And we're gonna do power chord off of the 6th and the 5th on that low string. Okay, so the whole rhythm part for that intro, nice and slow. And then we're getting into the verse. So the last thing that we have to cover in the intro is the lead guitar. And the lead, we start up on the 17th fret of the high string, and we're going to bend that just a half a step and release it. And we do that twice. And the 3rd time, he just bends it, but doesn't actually release it. So you've got 2 bend releases. And then what we do is we come down, we've just got it's pretty simple. It sounds more complicated than it is, but it's just a chromatic thing. We've got one shape that we're just moving down chromatically down the neck. So what we do is we start on the 12th fret, and we're gonna hammer pull 12, 16, 12, come down to the B string 15, and back up to the 12th fret on the high string. So we have 5 notes. And that's our shape. We're just gonna move that down 1 fret at a time. So we move it down to 11, 15, down to 14 on the B string, back up to 11. So we have this. And then we just keep doing that. Down until you reach the 5th fret. So 5 and 9. And then open E, and that rings out for the first 4 measures of that first verse. Okay, so nice and slow, the lead part looks like this. Okay, and now I feel comfortable just using fingers 1, 2, and 3, and I believe that Mustaine does. This is one of Mustaine's lead parts, and I believe he just uses the first 3 fingers too. But if you've got smaller hands or don't feel comfortable with that stretch, then it's totally fine if you want to use your pinky and 3rd finger and just move it down like that, right? Until you get there. So that's that lead part, and then we get into the verse. So the verse goes like this. It's dead simple, straight ahead, nothing too complicated here. Here's how it sounds. Okay, like I said, dead basic. All that we're doing is we're basically just chugging straight E palm mutes, just 1 and 2 and 3 and 4. And then on that last 8th note of every measure, we're going to do a power chord stab. So the first measure, we've got a power chord on the 4th fret of the low string. So 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and then we're just going to do a power chord stab on the 3rd fret for the next measure. Back up to the 4th fret power chord on measure 3. And then on the last measure, we do a 6-5 power chord movement on beat 4. Okay, and that's the whole verse. We just play those 4 measures 4 times. So one quick play through those 4 measures for you. It looks like this. Okay, so now that we're talking about the verses, we may as well just quickly cover verse 2. We have a lead fill at the end of every line in verse 2. So the first lead fill sounds like this. Okay, so that first fill is really easy. All that we're doing is doing 2 pull-offs between 7 to 5 on the A string. And the second time, just bend that 5th fret a little bit. And then open A. And just dive the bomb a little, or dive the bar a little bit. Okay, now the second fill at the end of the second line of that second verse is this. Okay, so all that we're doing is we're bending the 17th fret on the B string, and then use your pinky to grab the 19th fret on the high E string. Okay, and those are going to kind of ring together. And we do that twice, and then just shake it with the bar. Okay, that's the second fill. The third fill is kind of creative. It's a good little fill because he sings about the president of being the president, right? And then it kind of quotes the national anthem. So we've got this. So what we're doing is 12 on the B string, 13 on G, and 14 on D. Okay? And on the album, that first note's kind of got pinched. So you can play it pretty hard, try to get a pinch harmonic in there. Okay? And then come back up to 13 on G, 12 on B. And then we want to hit the 14th fret on B. And then it's a slow bend with some vibrato on it. So that's the fill. Okay, there's the third fill at the end of the third line. And the last fill to finish off the second verse is a little bit more complicated. I'll give it a quick play for you. Here it goes. Okay, so it's very pentatonic-y, almost. It's not quite a pentatonic lick, but pretty close. We start off by fretting the 15th fret on the B string with our pinky and the 14th fret on the G string with our third finger, and it's an oblique bend. So hold that pinky note steady as we bend with our third finger. Okay, we start with that, and then we go, so we go on the G string, 14 to 12 pull off, and then 2 more hits on the 14th fret, and then pull off to the 13th fret, so a little trick there. And then we come down to the D string, 14 to 12. And then we do a quick slide, 14, 12 to 10 on the A string, down to 12 on the low E, and then back up to the A string, 12, 10, pull off, and kind of bend that 10th fret again. So nice and slow, that lick. And then we get into what we'll call the pre-chorus. I'll give that riff a quick play through and then we'll break it down. Okay, so this riff, not too hard to pull off again. We're starting on an E power chord, 7th fret of the A string. Hit that twice, down to a D, a whole step below, back up to our E. Now we're gonna go to a G power chord, 5th fret of the D string, then back to D and E power chords. Okay, so far. And then we repeat this beginning part for the next bit. Then we come down to the 2nd and 3rd frets on the low string. Okay, stay on that 3rd fret, hit it twice, 2nd fret, back up to the 3rd fret, 5th fret, D power chord on the A string, back to the 2nd and 3rd frets on that low string. Okay, stay on that, put a palm mute on as we go chromatically down 3, 2, 1, and then stab the 3rd fret on the A string. And then the first time that pre-chorus riff plays, we get back into the verse riff where a little lead solo happens. So that whole thing, now that we went through it nice and slow, goes like this. And then, like I said, the first time that occurs, we get into the verse riff and a little lead solo goes over that. So let's just talk about that lead solo that happens after the first pre-chorus. And that sounds like this. Hey, I hope this video is helping you play Peace Sells by Megadeth in record time. Just wanted to let you know that I've got plenty more Megadeth planned and on the way, as well as loads more from all your favorite bands, all with complete tab. So if that sounds good to you, remember to like and subscribe. As well, if you want to be a contributor to this channel and help me out as this all takes off, then you can find a donation button on my homepage. Any and all contributions are greatly appreciated. Helps me put this stuff out faster with better quality. Now, thanks a lot for listening to me. Let's get back at her. Okay, so that lead that occurs there starts with the 12th fret on the G string. We bend that up a whole step. I do it with my 2nd finger, but you could do it with your 1st or your 3rd probably. You can experiment what feels comfortable for you. Okay, give it a little vibrato, hold it for 3 beats. And then we get into this really cool chromatic lick. It's very chromaticy and very fast. So we're going to start on 13 and 12 of the G string, pull off twice. Come down to 14 on that D string, and then we're going to go 12, 13, 14 on G, and then 12, 13, 12 on the B string, 14, 13, 12 on the G string, coming down to 15, 14 on the D string. Okay, so far we have this. Okay, then we go 12, 13 on G, up to 12 on B, then 14, 13, 12 on G again, and then we get into a full run down all the strings. Repeat 14, 13, 12 on G, 15, 14, 12 on D, 15, 14, 12 on A, 15, 14, 12 on E, and end on the 10th fret of that E string. Okay, so that whole little chromatic-y thing goes like this. Okay, and then slide into the 15th fret on B and just come down our pentatonic scale, our E minor pentatonic. Go 12 on the high string, 15 to 12 pull off on the B string, and then 14 on G, end on the 12th fret of G. And you can bend that a little bit, just slightly. Okay, so that whole lead lick goes like this. So that's the little lead break after the first pre-chorus. Now, after the second pre-chorus, they're at about 1 minute and 37 seconds, there's an interlude section followed by a second guitar solo where they're trading licks. So I'll play the interlude and the rhythm underneath that trading lick solo all as one piece, and then we'll break that down. And it's got some cool harmony guitar stuff going on too. So here we go with that. So the interlude section that we hear at 1 minute and 37 seconds in the track consists of falling down a scale. Now you could see this as being rooted in a couple of different scales. So for that reason, let's not open up that can of worms. We'll just learn the notes that we're going to play and not get too deep into the theory. It's really 4 measures that repeats for a total of 8 measures for our interlude section, with the higher harmony guitar coming in on the second set of 4. So that first line that both guitars play on the first 4 measures is this. Okay, so what we're doing, 2 palm mutes on that low E, followed by 10, 9, 10 on the A string. So you're going to want to do a pull off between those first 2 notes. So pluck 10, pull off to 9, and come back to 10. Okay, so and that's just the pattern that repeats the whole way. Okay, 2 more E palm mutes, come down to 9 and 7. Then 2 more E's, 7 and 5. And then 5 and 4, 4 and 2, 2 and open. And now 5 and 4 on the low string. And then 3 and 2 on the low string. Okay, so put that all together nice and slow. Okay, and that repeats again for the next 4 measures. Except we just don't do the very last dyad. We put in some power chords here on the 4th fret and the 3rd fret. We're going to do a chromatic movement 4, 3, 2 to get into our next riff that happens underneath that trading solos or trading lick solo. Okay, so the second half is like this. Okay, and then we're into our next riff. But before we get into our next riff, let's just talk about that harmony that comes in on that second set of 4 measures in that interlude. So that the harmony guitar doubles that first guitar for the first 4 measures. And then okay, we play the same sort of figure, just a 3rd higher. So again, we're chugging 2 open E's between each one of these sets of notes. And we start off by going 9, 8, 9 on the D string. Okay, and there's a pinch harmonic and a little bit of vibrato there too on the album. Okay, so you kind of get a pinch harmonic and shake that when you come back to 9. Okay, and you'll want to do that with each set of notes too. So the next set of notes is 7 and 5. Try to get that pinch harmonic again and give it a shake there. And then we fall down to 5 and 4 on the D string. And then 4 and 2. Come down to 7 and 5 on the A string. 5 and 4, and then 4 and 2. Okay, so that whole thing nice and slow, because then we're going to tack on the power chords the same as we had at the first guitar, because they're going to come together for a little bit for the next 2 measures. And so that second harmony guitar, it goes like this. Okay, now we're into the next riff, the riff that plays underneath those, the trading solo, or the trading lick solo. So really quickly again, just so you have that riff in your ears, it sounds like this. Okay, so it's another 4 measures that repeats. So we're gonna start off by doing that chromatic walk down out of our first riff. Okay, then we're into our solo. Now, we're on the 2nd fret, and then come up to the 3rd fret there. Right, so it's just a measure of 1/8 notes on that 2nd fret, really. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4, and 1 and 2, back to the 2nd fret, and then 3, 2. So we're just really messing around with the 2nd and 3rd frets there. And then we just go back to the first 3 beats of the harmony lead that we just learned in the interlude. It's the same thing. So the first guitar is doing 10, 9, 10 on the A string, 9, 7, 9, and then 7, 5. And then repeating that riff. And then so that higher harmony guitar would do the 9, 8, 9 to the 7, 5, 7 and 5, 4, 5. Okay, and then they both come together again for that. Okay, so we play that 4 times. The 4th time, we instead of doing the harmony bit, we just do a little walk up from 5, 6, 7 on the A string, the power chords. And then our tempo changes, right? So that last time, the 4th rotation would be. And that's the end of that trading lick solo, as well as our tempo change to 164. Okay, so that takes care of the rhythm for that. Let's learn the licks over top of that solo. There's 4 licks that we'll have to learn. And lick number 1 goes like this. Okay, so lick number 1, a really bluesy lick. It's a really cool lick. We're starting on the 11th fret of B, on the B string, and sliding up to 12. And then hit 15, and then repeat that 11 to 12 slide. Okay? Now come down to the G string, bend 14, and we want to cut that a little short. It's a staccato note. And then release it down to 14, 12, come down to the D string, 14, and now we want to roll our 3rd finger back up to 14 on G, and then down to the 14 on D again. Now come up to the G string, 12 to 14 hammer, then 12, 12 on the B and the G, and 14 on D. Now after we've held that, we pull off to 12, and then come down to 14 on A, and then 12 on A, and then we want to finish on the 10th fret, and we're bending that a little bit. So nice and slow, it's going to look like this. Okay, lick number 2, played by Dave Mustaine, looks like this. Okay, this lick, a little bit tougher. So a little more improvised, it feels too. We're starting off with 2 hammers from the open to the 2nd fret on the low string. Okay, and now it gets a little bit quicker here. Open, 2 open on the A string. And then we hit a quick 3rd fret. And then we're gonna do open, 2, 3, 4. All on that A string. So far we have. Now up to the D string where we go 2, 4 to pull off. Then come down to the A string where we go 4, 3, 2. And then 4, 3, 0. Okay, so far we have this. And that open string gives us time to do a string skip up to the 5th fret here on the G string. So we're going to go 5, 4, 2 pull off, back to the 4th fret where we double pick that and pull off to 2 again, and then 2, 4 to 2 pull offs on the D string. Okay? So put that whole thing together, it looks like this. Okay, the 3rd lick, moving on back to Holman, and he plays this lick. Okay, a lot of real good feel here. Again, this one feels pretty improvised. A lot of feel in this lick. And we want to make all of these staccato, right? So try to pick these and release the pressure on all of these here. So we start on the B string, 19, 20, and then up to 19 on the high string. Back to 2 hits on the 20th fret of the B string, and then up to that high string again, 19, and back to 20 again on the B string. So we have this. Now we have 7 more hits on the 20th fret as we gradually bend. So you want to think, you know, there's going to be 6 hits here where you're just gradually bending. And then the 7th fret, you want to really yank it up to, like, you know, 2-step bend. And then as we release that, we go. So you go 17, 20 on the B string, down to the G string 18, and then back to the B string 17 twice, and then bend the 19th fret on G. And then to finish that off, you go 19, 16 on G, 19, 17 on the D string, and bend that 17th fret a little bit again for that nice bluesy effect. So nice and slow, that whole lick. Okay, the last lick of this solo is back to Mustaine, and he plays a pretty common lick that he likes to do. And it's not too hard to get fast, it's pretty repetitive, so it sounds like this. Okay, so this lick, like I said, is pretty repetitive. We're gonna start on the high string, 14, 17, 14. So pick 14 and then hammer pull from 17. Come down to the B string, 17. Back to the high string, and this time we're gonna go 14, hammer to 19 and pull off, back to 14. Back to 17 on the B string. And that's our pattern that repeats. Okay, and that repeats 4 times. So we've got this. 1, 2, 3, 4, okay? Now, obviously you don't want a little gap there when you repeat them. You just want it to flow. So the picking two, you know, I've been doing a down, down through the B and the high string. So that keeps it nice and flowing, just kind of doing like a mini sweep, right? Where you go now down, down, and then down, down again. So the only picking that you have to do is that those 2 downs, that little mini sweep. So you play that 4 times, and then the 5th time we abandon that and do this. We're gonna go 14, 17, 14 on that high string, down to 17, 14 on the B string, 17 on the G string, and then 14, 17 hammer pull on the B string, up to the 14 on the high string, and back to 17, 14 on the B string. And then we end on a little dyad, 17 on B and 16 on G. Okay, so the last 2 beats we have this. Okay, so the whole lick nice and slow. And then we're into our tempo change and what is going to be kind of the chorus riff here. So I'll play the next part for you, and then we'll break that down. So once the tempo changes to 164, we have a little bit of a interlude section before the actual chorus. But if you've been paying attention, all that we're playing here is the bass line from the intro. So that also functions as the chorus riff. So we'll just quickly go over that for those of you that might have missed it. Okay, we're going 7-5-7 on A, up to 5 on D, and then palm mute that low E, and then 7-5 on A, and then a quick 7-8 on the D string. Okay? And now on the album, when this little interlude section starts, the very first time, because it's just one measure repeated over and over and over, the very first time it's 7 and 8. And then the rest of the time through that little interlude section, it's an octave down on 5 and 6 on the low string, those last two notes. Okay, so yeah, the little trick there that might help you is to remember to kind of bar those two bottom strings. Like to make that, I roll my finger. So, and now I position that finger in such a way that I can roll it to get that, so that I'm not having to hop, because you've got two notes on the 5th fret there, right? We're on 5, and then if you don't fret it properly, you're gonna have to have a little hop there. That's a little bit annoying. So just kind of think ahead on that and fret it with the flat of the finger so that you can roll to that bottom string and it's nice and smooth. Okay? So that just plays over and over. Like I said, if you wanted to do exactly what was on the album, the first time you would play 7 and 8 on the D string for that very first measure, and then every measure after that, you're playing 5 and 6. But you could just play 5 and 6 the whole time. Okay, and live, I see that he doesn't even do either the 5 or 6 or 7 and 8. A lot of the time, he just kind of makes some dead noise or double picks the 7th fret on the A string again, kind of like this. So he's just kind of doing that live. So it makes it a little bit easier. You can do that too if you want. Now, after that plays 4 times, we get another guitar that comes in and just does some chords. So it's kind of cool because we have this chordal movement, but the actual riff is staying the same. But because of the chords moving, it feels like it's got some motion to it. So those chords, we're going to start with a little quick down-up palm mute on all the time here. So we're going to start with an E power chord. Okay, and then we move to a G on the 3rd fret of the low string. Move down a half step to the F sharp. And then up to B on the 2nd fret of the A string. And then just repeat that. And then the two guitars, we get into the actual chorus where they're singing peace sells, but who's buying? And then both guitars come together, play the exact same thing, and we're playing 7 and 8 on the D string for 8 measures. Okay, and then after the 8 measures, the second guitar that came in goes up and actually harmonizes a 5th higher. So we get this. Okay, so that is 9-7-9 on the D string, up to 7 on the G string, and then palm mute that low E, and then 7 or 9-7 on the D string, up to 9 and 10 on the G string. Okay. Okay, and then that plays, and then again the underlying rhythm track just goes back to both guitars doing that while we have a little bit of a lead. So let's just tackle that lead, get it out of the way before we move on to the outro of the song. Here's how it sounds. So a nice short little solo, but some flashy stuff in there. Lots of bends too. So we have to nail these pitches all going up the B string. We're going to be nailing these pitches that are found on the 10th, 12th, 15th, and 17th frets. Okay, and we're going to be doing that with bends, so approaching from below. So the 8th fret, bend up, then 10th, bend up, 12, we're going to bend up 1.5 steps, and then 15, to match that pitch on the 17th fret. After those 4 bends, we're up at the 12th fret, so we're going to play a little E minor pentatonic-y type lick. And we start by hitting the high string, 12th fret, coming down to the B string, 15 to 12 pull off, Now bend 14 on the G, and then we're gonna roll up the 2 12th frets on the B and the E again, and come back down to the B to do another 15 to 12 pull off. 14 on G, back up to B, and then we wanna, on the album it's actually pre-bent. He bends that and then releases. And it doesn't have to be a whole step bend, you can do a half step bend there. Either or is gonna sound good. But hit that 14th fret, release, pull off to 12, and then we're gonna do a string skip, a big jump up to the 15th fret of the high string. Bend that, then twice more, and then do a little half step bend at the end to finish that off. So that lick goes like this. Okay, now we get into the flashiest part of the solo. It's a fast little repeating lick. We go on the B string, 12, 15, and then up to the high string, 12, and then 13, and then I do a pull off back to 12. Come back down to the B string, 15, and then from there that repeats. And then, so we do that 3 times, right? So it's gonna go like this. And then from there, we're gonna go 13, 12, then come down to the G string, 14, 12, back to 14, come to the B string, 12, 13, 15, then up to the high string, 12, and then bend the 15th fret. Then the 17th fret bend, and then I go up to the 20th fret and do a whole step bend, but you could hit the 19th as well to stay within the pentatonic scale and bend 1.5 steps, and then hit the 22nd fret as the final bend. Okay, now to finish the solo off, 22 to 19 pull off twice, then come to the B string, 21st fret, and we're gonna bend that up a half step, release it, and then come to the 20th fret, 3 bends, just half step again, and then end just with an unbent 20th fret. So that whole solo is gonna go like this, nice and slow. So after that little lead break, we have another chorus where they're singing "Peace Sells, but who's buying?" And that just is going over top of our main chorus riff. Okay, and then after that chorus, we get into the final outro riff where the final outro solo also plays. So I'll go over that final outro riff. I'll give it a quick performance play, and then we'll break that down, and then we'll do the final solo, and we're done. Okay, so the final riff in the song, the outro riff, it starts off, the first couple of measures is just the chorus riff that we've already learned. Okay, and then we just stop it on beat 4 where we do this fast power chord chromatic movement. And it's a little bit trickier just because it's straight chromatics, a pretty quick tempo. It can be hard to really nail this. But what we do, we start on the 4th fret of the low string, that power chord, G sharp. And you just chromatically go down 1 step at a time or 1 fret at a time. 3, 2, 1, open E. And then start building back up. 1, 2, back to the 1st fret and open. So far we have this. And then we jump up to the 2nd fret, then the 3rd fret. Gonna hit that 4 times, then come back to the 2nd fret twice, then 3, 2. Okay, so that's the full power chord movement. And just put a palm mute on all of that. Okay, so that starts on beat 4, so we've kind of got this. 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and then it repeats. Okay, so it's 4 measures that just repeats 4 times, exactly like that. And then just tack on an E power chord. On the album, they're hitting this E power chord up at the 7th fret of the A string. So you can just hit that. You could also include that low E if you want. It's not there on the album though. It's just a little power chord there up on the 7th fret. Okay, so that is the main rhythm part for that rhythm. However, it is doubled an octave higher. So I would imagine just due to where this main riff is being played, is probably was played up here on the D and the G strings. You could also play all of this on the A and the D if you wanted to, but I'm going to show you on the D and the G just because there's less hopping from this position all the way up here, quite a bit of hopping, but from this position we can all play these power chords starting basically in the same position. So I would imagine that's where they chose to play it. But the second guitar would have started off the exact same. And then we're just going to play the same power chords an octave higher. So we're starting on the 6th fret of the D string, that, and just put a palm mute on all these power chords again, and just chromatically walk down all the way to the 2nd fret, back up to the 4th, back to the 2nd, now up to the 4th, 4 hits on 5, down to 4, back 5, 4. Okay, so that's. Okay, and again, then it would make sense playing it in this position too. If the lower rhythm guitar came and hit that power chord, this one could hit that power chord. There would be slightly different timbral differences there, so it would work out nice that way. And there you go. There's all the rhythm parts to P cells. So let's do the final outro solo that goes over that riff, and we got her. Okay, so this outro solo has some more flashy licks. And this first one starts a little bit before the beat, as you can see in the tab. But again, it's kind of got a little repetitive thing to start off with. So we're gonna go 11, 12, 14 on the low string, and you can just hammer all those. And then 11, 12, 11, just hammer pull there on the A string, back to 14, 12 on the low string. Okay, so we've got this. Then we just move that up a string set and do that on the A and the D strings. Okay, and then we can just hammer through the D and the G strings. We're gonna go 11, 12, 14 on D, and then 11, 13, 14 on G. Come up to 12 and 14 on B, and then with your second finger, bend the 13th fret to match the pitch on the 15th fret. Kind of release that, and then another little pentatonic-y blues lick. So after that bend, we come down to the G string, 14, 12, 14. 14 again with a bend. Release it to 14, 12, and then come down to 14 on D, and then 14, 12, 14 on G again. Come up to the B12, and then down to 12 on G. And you can just nudge that a little quarter step bend, okay? So far we have this. Okay, now we get into some fast, most of this fast stuff is kind of based on a repetitive pattern. So we get into some more fast playing here. After that bend, we go 13, 14 on G, and then 12, 13, back to 12 on the B string. Okay, and I do a little pull off there again from 13 to 12. Pull, makes the picking a little bit easier. Come back to the G string, 14, 13, and back to 14, up to 12, 13, 12 on the B string again. So we got that little repetitive pattern. Okay, we're gonna do that 3 times. The 4th time when we come up, we use the 15th fret to pull off, and then 14, 13, 14 on the G. And then again, pull off from the 15th fret. And then when we come up to the B string again, 12, 13, 15 to a hammer. Up to the high string, 12, and then 15th fret. And bend that 15th fret on the B string. Okay, so that whole little repetitive part is gonna look like this from that G string nudge, right? It's, now we've got this. Okay, now when we've got that bend, we want to give it one wide vibrato. It's just one release and back up. And then pull off to the 12th fret and really wide bend up 2 whole steps, okay? So from that bend, and then we've got some more fast playing here. We go 15, we're ringing these 2 notes together, 15 on the B string and 12 on the high string. Just to start with, we just go pick those twice, and then we get into another little repetitive thing where we're going 15, 12, 15 on the B string, and then up to 12, 14, 12 on the high string, and do that. Okay, so after this really wide bend, okay, and then you want to do a quick position shift up to, we're going to start doing, okay, so we're going 15, 16, 15 on the high string, then 17, 15 on B, back to 17 there, back up to the high string, and 17, 15, you end on the 15th fret of that B string, and then we're going to bend the 17th fret, and he doesn't bend it a whole step, it's just kind of a half step bend. A very bluesy effect, right? Because we're playing in the key of E minor, so we're hitting that flat 5th if we only do a half step bend. So half step bend, release it, back to 15 and 17, and then could be, if you've got heavy gauge strings, this might be hard, but you're going to use your first finger to bend the 15th fret a whole step. Okay, and then we release that, and we're going to hit a quick 15th fret and bend the 17th fret a whole step, and then release the 17th fret. You're going to hit that again really quick. And this is kind of a tricky one. You want to jump all the way up to the 21st fret, bend it a half step, and release it really quick, and bend it back up. So it's kind of like down and back up really quick. And then try to snag that B string underneath that finger as you've got that bent. So, because you're going to hit that B string and end on the 22nd fret bend, okay? So, you know, that could be tricky just to get that B string snagged underneath that 3rd finger so that you can hit that right before the final bend. But there's the solo, nice and slow. The whole thing is going to look like this. So there it is, guys. Every single note of Megadeth's piece sells. I've got more Megadeth on the way, so if that sounds good to you, don't forget to hit like and subscribe so that you don't miss these, and I'm going to see you next time.